Welcome to the Tavernside Chats with Will.
Again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm very excited for this interview. I was very, very excitedly telling my group of like, holy shit, I get to interview the creator. So I'm going to count us down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tavern. I'm your Tavernkeeper Will here with another amazing guest on our Tavernside Chats. But before we go ahead and get started with that, just a couple quick announcements. Number one, check out the merch store down below. There's always new goodies coming up every little bit or so. And then check out our Discord down below in the towel section as well. You can just go right down there, check out our spell description, and then find a link to our free Discord server. Come on in, have a great time. You can get your questions answered on this channel. Today we have a very wonderful guest. There is in the wonderful, wonderful world of Pokemon, there is a huge thing of people making their own fan-made Pokemon tabletop role-playing games, and today we have on the creator of the Pokeymanz system, Pika. Pika, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It's flattering. I made a game and put it on Reddit, and now people want to interview me. This is awesome.
When did you initially publish the game?
Oh fuck, dude, I have to look that up. I think it was like 2021 or something. It was definitely like post the start of the pandemic for sure.
Was this a COVID project for you?
I don't know that it was a COVID project by definition. I think that COVID freed up some of my time. Yes, probably. But it wasn't like I sat down and I was like, well, everything's fucked, so I guess everyone needs a Pokemon system to cope now, so...
It probably helped for some people, frankly, or like, okay, well, might as well... I mean, the amount of D&D games that must have started during the pandemic is astronomical there.
I hope so.
Yes, truly. Our first question that we usually like to ask here, number one, Bev check, what are you drinking today?
Oh, water. Shout out to water.
Shout out to water. Shout out to the 7-Up Zero Sugar Shirley Temple.
What?
It tastes nothing like a Shirley Temple, but it's pretty good. Our secondary question that we always start off with, how did you get into TTRPGs in the first place? Like, what's your origin story when it comes to D&D?
Well, I was born in it, cradled in it, one might say. I think it's more accurate to say that I got my start, role-playing on, the Neopets forums when I was 11, and, faked my account being 13 so I could use the forums.
Wonderful answer. That's a great answer, I have to say.
But my first sitting down with a tabletop RPG was when I was 14, and we had a TTRPG club at school. And so I signed up for that, and we did D&D 3.5, and I completely fucked up my skills the first time I played. Had no idea how the rules worked, and Bob's your uncle. Actually, though, one thing that is notable that I think informs Pokeymanz in a weird way is I want to say that my LARP history is probably the most interesting thing there. Vampire LARP for years and years.
Okay. Vampire the Masquerade, or just a different other...
Requiem at that time, yeah. I'm never gonna fucking LARP Masquerade. You couldn't pay me to deal with the Tremere, dude.
Vampire the Masquerade is a game system I've always wanted to get into. And welcome to the show. 5 seconds in, already getting off onto a tangent. That's a system I've always wanted to do, but the culture that exists around the system, you could not pay me to get into that.
Oh, I always say this about LARP. This is one thing that I say over and over again, is that LARPers are 90% the nicest, most hospitable, give you a drive to the game, nice, cool people you've ever met, and then 10% the scum of the earth.
Yeah, that's I'm a cosplayer myself, and so I think that also applies to the cosplay community as well, which like overlap there too. But that's fascinating there. That so 3.5 is where you got your start, which is surprising insight that we get for a lot of the show. A lot of the people we've been interviewing lately have gotten their start, especially with 5th edition. So that's really cool. 3.5 there.
Is it though?
Well,
is
fair
it?
Enough. It's a very fascinating time in D&D's history where I would say that's possibly like the second biggest D&D renaissance that we've had, regardless of now being the biggest renaissance of the game. But if I had to pinpoint times where I think the game was biggest, I would probably say around 3.5 or probably somewhere around nowadays too.
Oh yeah, it was just kind of like what was the game du jour when I was joining, right? It was just like the D&D that people were playing at that time, which dates me pretty hard, doesn't it? Nobody backdate my birth date because of this, but no, we were playing 3.5 and then, later on, like other games similar to it, because that's what was there, and I was already tired of it about a year in, I think. It's not that I don't like 3.5 at all, it's just that it doesn't quite jive with me, as I'm sure you can probably guess based on my game design preferences.
Yeah, what would you say your game design preferences are then?
It depends on what I want. Like, I don't want the same thing out of every tabletop RPG, right? When it came to Pokemon, I wanted something that was alternative to what already existed, which was very much a kind of outgrowth of the D20 3.5 era of complex, mechanics and such. And I wanted something that was closer to something that you could just pick up and play within an hour, But other games, I really enjoyed tactical play and stuff. I actually quite enjoy base Savage Worlds, like almost miniatures combat stuff, in the right circumstances. So it really just depends on what I'm playing, I guess. But when I'm designing, I'm kind of dog shit at mechanics, so I'll stay in my lane and make story games.
Yeah, that's one thing I do very much have to commend about the game design of Pokeymanz is how it very much fits. It very much is a game that you could pick up in an hour. Like, it is a thing that like you could go knowing nothing into session 0 or session 1 there, and within one gameplay session, everything makes sense. Which is in my own campaign that I'm running in the system right now is something that was like a couple of my players were like a little confused on the rules, but then when we actually started playing, they're like, okay, no, this makes sense. And especially the quick start guide included within it is a very, very useful mechanic, or like how quickly and easily it is to build a character. Also on the subject of Pokemon there as well, what was your history with the Pokemon franchise? Like, when did you start getting into it in the first place?
Yeah, I'll get into that. 1 second, though, I just want to say, Sergeant Shivers is actually the one who wrote that quick play guide when we did a playtest. Yeah, and he wrote that, and I was like, can I fucking steal that and put it on page 1? And he was like, yeah, of course. And I was like, thanks, man.
Sergeant Shivers.
Sergeant Shivers, Doom modder, you might know his work.
Yep.
But as for the actual question, my history with the Pokemon franchise is that it is in my bones. It has been simmering for years, decades now, and I was entranced the first moment I saw it when I was like 6 years old, and it just never left. It's even difficult to quantify how important it is to me, and how much I just live and breathe this stuff.
That's wonderful. Pokemon is just one of those. It's one of those franchises where I know like every December or like November, I can tell when the new game comes out, it's going to take over my life for a little bit. We're especially in one of those phases right now. But who's your favorite Pokemon?
Galvantula.
Great answer. I will say that is
It's good.
That when my younger sister was a huge D&D Pokemon fan as well, her favorite was Joltik, and so
yeah, woo, Joltik.
The Unova Pokemon were so well designed.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to the actual Pokeymanz system as well, what inspired it in the first place? What kind of drew you to create the system?
I don't think inspired is the right word. I think compelled is the right word. My first draft of the system was simply a message in my friend group's tabletop channel that was just like, let me see if I can get this, like, word for word. One moment. I should have looked this up before the podcast. Scrolling up to the beginning here. Pokemon, I'm tired squirrel. I'm very tired. A very short RPG attempt based on Savage Worlds, I guess. And I just wrote like the RPG, like the basic resolution mechanic in like the chat for like about 3 days before committing to putting it in a Word doc, and kind of being like, oh, this is my life now. Okay.
How long did it take you to complete the system, like from that message to the 2021 like release date on Reddit?
Ooh, good question. I should not have closed that.
Oh
should not have
no.
closed that search bar. So the first message was put out on April the 13th of 2021, and I think the PDF came out like a few months after. Like, it took me a bit to get into the Word doc, and then I learned how to make PDFs by doing it.
That is an impressive turnaround, I have to say, of like multiple months for what is a 180 like ish page document there with like very dense, not dense rules, but like with very dense descriptions, like explaining everything. Like, that is a impressive turnaround.
Well, I do have some, I shouldn't say that I just taught myself to make PDFs. I have graphic design background, right? I went to college for art fundamentals and everything, and I've been messing around with art programs for as long as, as long as I've been alive with a computer and the internet connection. So it wasn't like I came to it with no PDF making skills, or no writing skills for that matter. Like, I've written like novel-sized fan fictions before this. So I guess I already had project management skills going in. So that's a big help. If you know project management skills and everything. And I also had like the art and layout skills to bring it to life. So something that would be probably an impassable barrier for most people was merely a matter of me sitting down and brute forcing my PDF making program.
Gotcha. It's interesting how like the backgrounds that we have, the skills that we have can like translate to things that we would not even think of in the past. Like the amount of like directing skills, because I have a huge theater background. The amount of directing skills that go into DMing is also fascinating. So see that like kind of like the transmissibility of different art skills and stuff like that is really fascinating.
Yeah, like I'm a writer by background and an artist, and you can probably really tell that based on my work. And I also have like the LARPing, kind of came into it, because a lot of Pokeymanz relies on like players playing ball, if that makes sense. And I had a chance to observe a lot of social dynamics when I was LARPing, right? Player and storyteller and interlocking dynamics of like player politics is something that you kind of naturally pick up on when you LARP, and so you kind of get a sense for like how far you can push a vaguer mechanic and have players like respond in good faith to it.
Where do you like, how do you find that line there of like pushing the vaguer stuff versus like in your mind what needs to be like concrete of like these are the rules that need to be there in the system versus the like, hey, you can kind of play loosey-goosey with this? Because one of the things that I love in the system as well is kind of like the 3 tenets you put at the beginning of like use game logic to fill in the blanks of like stuff that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's actually kind of ties into the notes you sent me earlier. Am I allowed to mention those? Are those top secret?
Yeah. Behind the scenes things, we give our interview questions beforehand so that the people know what they're going into or know the questions. So, like, we have, like, a list of questions, but 9 times out of 10, we fully deviate from that or, like, go off on tangents there. Our last episode, I think we spent, like, a while talking about Star Wars in our episode about Marvel the Marvel Multiverse RPG.
Og.
Yeah, no, you can fully either reference the notes or you can, like, we can also jump around in order of the questions there.
Awesome, because I just wrote something else in under a different question. So you asked me, how did you capture the feeling of a Pokemon game within your system? And one of my answers, which ties into this, is that everybody knows how to play fucking Pokemon.
Yes.
It comes free with your childhood. Because this was my world, right? This was the world that existed inside of my head, and many other people felt the same. And we know intuitively, as a Pokemon fan, you know how the version of your world, how its internal logic should work. And kids play like this all the time. You know, they'll just be like, yeah, I splash you with my water gun, and you take damage. It's like, oh, you got me with water gun. So, like, for me, a lot of the design of Pokeymanz is merely putting rails around that intuitive understanding of how Pokemon should work. And just trusting people. Like, this doesn't work for everybody. This is not everybody's system. But it trusts people who want to do that again to do that. And it gives them a garden within which to play that pretend game again, but with a few more twists on it and, you know, some stuff to enhance it.
Yeah, I truly love that answer of, like, there's this, like, oftentimes when you're going into an RPG, you know the rules of the system. Like, I don't understand why they have the catching thing every single game. We know how to catch a Pokemon. Like, we should be able to opt out of that at this point. But also, like, it is good because I currently at my table, I have people who've never played a Pokemon game before and who are like, I'm here because I love your DMing style and because this is the campaign you want to run next. But also, they were quickly able to pick up even from like even without knowing like the rules or like the world of Pokemon, they were quickly able to pick up like what the vibe of the game was. One of the players, love you so much, Megan, is mostly there just to collect cute little creatures. And like, you know what? That is the exact world of Pokemon, the exact rules. So like, also at the same time, like the game works for that as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's Pokemon, right? Like, if it were not a world that was not immediately transmissible into the brains of autistic people, I don't know about Megan, this is a commentary on me. If it were not instantly transmissible, the premise of Pokemon into children and autistic people's brains, and ADHD, you know what I fucking mean, then it would not be as successful.
There's something about Pokemon made by an autistic man, which is so like perfect for people who are on the neurodivergent spectrum, like myself. It is the peak franchise for that. Oh my god. You mentioned that you had a couple other answers for the like capturing the feeling of the Pokemon game within the system.
Oh yeah.
Or was that?
Go on, sorry.
Or was that all your notes?
That was all that was in my notes, but something else occurred to me. I just, I have been playing these for fucking ever. I have been playing Pokemon since the first Pokemon game, and I have never, ever stopped. I've been playing every single, like, not every side game, but every mainline game that has the same, gameplay loop. And many, many fan games at this point, too, which have, again, the same gameplay loop. So I'm very, very familiar with how the system creates the sensation of Pokemon. Creates the sensation of Pokemon, Jesus Christ. But, like, if you go to the GM section in Pokeymanz, there is a page on gameplay loops.
Mm.
And this in that page, I do elaborate that the central loop of Pokemon, of any kind of Pokemon game at all, is you go to a place, you find new Pokemon, you in some way obtain them or appreciate them, and then that allows you to unlock a new place where there are more Pokemon. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also like, I feel like there's something about that also functions so well in a TTRPG setting, because also that is a lot of like the breakdown of how a regular TTRPG works as well. Because like it's like going to a new place, meeting the new characters, like fighting what you can. We've done everything. Cool. Time to go over to the next town, or time to go do the next thing. And so I think that there's something about it that like those two things are so transmissible with one another, that are like, the idea of a Pokemon TTRPG just makes sense because of the core gameplay loop there. How is it something that you worry about with the game system or running game system? Do you worry that people would become bored of that loop at all, or is it something that like you trust the game masters to make the world interesting enough like that?
Well, this is kind of like something that I've not really posted outside of my own system feedback channel, but this game's for me, right? This game is for me and my friends who are crazy about Pokemon. So I didn't really think about other people, if we're being real. It never occurred to me. It's like the weak will not survive my game. It's not that I never took any feedback or anything. That's not it at all. More so that if you don't have my specific brand of liking this in the way that I do, then it's simply not the game for you, if that makes sense. But no, the gameplay loop will never get boring. I will play a million Pokemon fan games until I die.
Is there a certain thing that inspired you to make the system in the first place, or was it just a thing of something that? Wait, no, I think I already answered that question. Hold on, never mind. My brain is completely shutting down. It has been a week at work.
Oh no.
Where you mentioned that you posted like the basics of the system in like a Discord channel, and then you transferred it into the Google Doc. What did you start out with when it came to building this TTRPG? Like, what was the kind of like core that everything else was built out around?
I started with the Pokemon. That's okay. So first let's go a bit further back before posting that, to my simmering rage that there was no game that quite fit like what I wanted. And I actually do want to like shout out to the other Pokemon TTRPG creators who were on the market at the time, so to say, like Dr. Mr. Stark and the PTU crew, because they did amazing work in making games that I loved to read and then get really mad that I wouldn't enjoy. Because they had so many good ideas, but they were just not compatible with what I personally wanted. So I began to formulate in my head for like multiple years. It was just sitting there, simmering in the background. But the things that I came up with that were the most important was Pokemon should be easy to make. There should be none of this stats business. There has to be some kind of numerical stats, but the focus should be on what they can do, not what's under the hood. So when I made the game, we've caught up with the present. When I made the game, or the basics of the game, I focused very hard on making sure that Pokemon and trainers worked as a unit, and that Pokemon were defined by their moves, which were very simple to put down. So that's where the 4 moves with dice thing came with. And I debated on whether or not I should split up toughness and parry, keep it split up more like Savage Worlds, and I was like, no. I want simple. I want as simple as physically possible, so I'm going to make my core the Pokemon.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, and also, I have to speak to that as somebody who's DMing the system currently. Something that I was very worried about going into, I've always wanted to run a Pokemon TTRPG, but I've also been like, how on earth do you do it? Because of how Pokemon's a very weird franchise in the first place. Not even the fact that it's weird, but it's a like it's functionally an RPG, but as a trainer, you have 6 heroes, and then if you're doing it like TTRPG, like cool. Imagine running 6 character sheets at once, which sounds like a nightmare. But then you go to the Pokemon system, and again, they are very easy to create in a matter of like minutes. Even it's mostly just being like, okay, cool. This move, how do I translate to this through the game logic? Okay, cool. This move next. This move next, or like just adapting. And with the rules that you've set out, they're very like easy to think, okay, this is how this ability would work, or this is how this ability would work. Like everything is structured in a way that you look at the rules and you're like, okay, cool. It's very easy to intuit how certain stuff would go from there.
Yeah, and to explain that, I have to go into explaining EVs and IVs. I'm sorry to everybody who hates math. If that's all right, just give me a second. I promise I'm going somewhere with this.
This is your episode. Talk about whatever you want.
Wow, it's my episode. So anyway, Danny Phantom. No.
So that's the next TTRPG you're working on. You're working on the Danny Phantom book.
No. I'm working on a few things. But so in Pokemon, in the 3rd generation of Pokemon, they took a system from the 2nd generation, which was like hidden values. I think it was called hidden values. I'm not sure. So the gist of this system is that the longer you have a Pokemon and the more Pokemon you battle, the more it gets like a secret hidden stat up. The problem with Gen 2 was that they made it so that there was no end to that, theoretically, is what I think I researched. So when they go into Gen 3 and forward, this is the standard for all Pokemon games since then. They implement a system called IVs and EVs. IVs being a Pokemon's individual goodness at a stat from 1 to 31, and then EVs being the same as the hidden values, where you battle Pokemon and you get like a secret little background stat bump. It's very subtle. The gains only show up over time, and for a very long time in the games, they didn't show them at all, so only competitive players were really into this. You may recognize in the modern games, they do let you interface with this system through the vitamins more directly, and now they actually show you where the stats are going, and hyper training, which allows you to bypass IVs entirely, thank God, for late game. So those stats mattered. But the thing that's interesting is that even though every Pokemon fan that was seriously into them hated that it was not visible for a reason. And that was because 6-year-olds play this game.
Yeah.
They wanted Pokemon to feel like they were responsive to the player, but they didn't want to show that directly. So they put in a hidden system to make sure that Pokemon that you had in your party for a while would, on average, just be stronger in a way that the player couldn't necessarily quantify, but you can feel it. You can always feel it when you put a new Pokemon in your party. So, the perennial mistake I saw, in my view, in terms of like character building, that everybody did was they would look at the stat thing of the game, which is meant to produce a feeling out of numbers, and try and make the same numbers, which did not translate to tabletop RPG to produce the same feeling. So instead of that, I went, okay, so we want it to feel like the Pokemon get stronger after being in your party, but tabletop RPG players are going to be looking at that directly. There's no such thing as a hidden stat in a tabletop RPG. So I'm going to put in a thing that measures your friendship with the Pokemon, that gives you rerolls, that feels luckier. You know, the Pokemon feels stronger and feels like you've been bonded with them more, but it's not hidden. It's linked into the evolution system, so it's, you know, either whether or not you want to evolve a Pokemon, there's some sense of progression. And then, of course, you are controlling their moves directly. So, like, a lot of what I think of as missteps in Pokemon, in making Pokemon TTRPGs are, and a lot of what goes into making Pokemans more vibes-based is in looking at Pokemon games and going, what was this number crunching designed to make you feel, and then skipping to point B to the feeling of it and trying to recreate that instead of point A.
And I think that's one of the greatest parts of the system is it really fulfills the fantasy of playing a Pokemon game, but in the TTRPG setting where you're getting all the fantasy elements, but it's taking that crunch out because, I mean, as a system, Pokemon works because there's a lot of math that the game doesn't have to do, that when you're doing it as a DM or a player at like another Pokemon table. And the thing that scared me off of a lot of other Pokemon games is just the crunch of it. And so being able to take that and get that feeling of kind of chasing, as Brenly Mulligan would say, chasing the fantasy, and then in Jake you can put the counter up there for Brenly Mulligan. We have a running bit where if I mention Brenly Mulligan or Matt Colville, we have to put a counter up there for how many times in this series I mentioned them. It's probably a lot at this point, but they're also just two of my biggest DM inspirations. Like going for the fantasy of what am I trying to do, and then making it feel like you're doing that. And that's something I think the mastery system does so well. And one of the greatest things that one of my players said of that line in the system, if I can't play Ash, the system is trash. For
me, yes. I want to, if anybody's thinking of making another system, or anybody who made another Pokemon system, not a declaration of war. It was a personal design mission.
No wonder, and I think that's also a great thing, especially for DMs or game designers in any way, shape, or form. I think chasing that fantasy or creating a personal mantra for yourself of what do I want to set out with this system, and going from there is wonderful. And it's something that you can really feel oh, cool, okay, cool. This Tyranitar can actually fight a Pikachu, and it could be an actual fight in the Pokemon anime.
Yeah, I think I saw a post on Tumblr the other day, probably Prokopets, it's always Prokopets, who was talking about the dearth of RPGs where you can actually play as the characters on the show, because there's one OP person like the Doctor or the Slayer, and it just doesn't fucking let you play them.
Mm-hmm. This game, I truly you could play Ash in this game. You could play someone with just a Pikachu and a couple of other guys who are not fully evolved, but they're still taking on a Darkrai, and it works. Yeah. And I think that's so. And I think that chasing the anime logic or chasing the manga logic of not going for the feelings of the games, but going for those two, because I personally think that when a lot of people think of what they think of as Pokemon, a lot of them also tend to think about the anime as well. That's why where a lot of people got their initial exposure. I mean, that's at least or this might just be a personal thing. I got into Pokemon through the anime. I was watching Cartoon Network, or was it on Cartoon Network? I saw the episode with the giant Dragonite. I'm like, what is this show? And then that got me into the games. And so that feeling of extreme narrative-based stuff is something that I think works so much better for a TTRPG system than an actual game system.
The reason is they did half the fucking work for me. In the games, you do a thing called Water Gun, and it plays a 2-frame animation, right? But in the anime, there's this rich, detailed world where they have brought things to visual life, and they've thought things through about, what would the utility of Vine Whip be in a setting? And it's not just an attack, it's something that they can use as little arms and shit. So the anime really brings it's the critical step between the number crunching game and what it would be like to live in that world. They did all that narrative work, and they put that in so that your imagination doesn't have to quite bridge all of that gap,
One of my favorite scenes in the anime is where you have, I think it's in the Johto run where Ash is in the back of a car being driven by Team Rocket, and he has Cyndaquil and Totodile with him, and they're alternating between Flamethrower and Water Gun to warp and bend the metal. And it's just such a creative use of those moves that when I read this system, got me oh, I could this is a system where you could actually do that. I love a system that is pro shenanigans. As a player who is so pro shenanigans, and this feels like a very shenanigansy system in the best way possible.
It is. I'm a shenanigans player too. I pull some hot bullshit in any. I'm a very proactive player. I want to I want to be the GM in a way.
Yeah.
Now this isn't to say that I want the GM not to have fun. I want to like be given a scenario and I want to outthink it sometimes. So this lends very well to just like, can I, like I imagine Ash's player in like the Unknown movie, this is the one that always sticks out for like creative move use for me. Is there's a scene in the Unknown movie where they're like, we have to get in there, and we try flamethrowing it, and it flamethrows open, and it regenerated closed. Okay, so what if we took like flamethrower and then we followed it up with water gun, and then we rode the stream inside the crystal building, and then Ash like has to pick up the water Pokemon at the end of it and fucking bum rush the door and like get in just before it closes. And that's exactly the kind of shit I wanted to be able to do in Pokemans. Like there's no system, or there was no system at the time, where you could do anything like that and have it be in any way adjudicated by the rules.
Yeah, and I think that's like a little bit of a later question here. I think that's like the best part of the moves in the system, is that it feels like you can do stuff like that. It's something that's like the moves in the system, they're very freeform and creative. And I think in a world where you're kind of thinking outside the box of like what you can do with your moves to solve these problems and stuff like that, it's so key and such a very like. And I think that's also part of the learning curve of the system too, is players being like, oh, I can do the shenanigansy stuff I don't get to use. Like one of my players at my table, again, love you, Megan, has a Ralts with the telepathy ability, and she's like, can I tell Ralts to talk to other Pokemon using their telepathy and have her talk back to me? And I'm like, absolutely, you can. Like it's so shenanigansy, but it also feels like, yeah, no, that's how the telepathy works in the anime, so I guess you can do that.
Yeah, no, like the different abilities and having different like conceptions of how those abilities work is also really fun. I think my two funniest ability uses was in one campaign I gave a Porygon the ability to like take the humans with them into cyberspace. Like that was just its ability. It could jack in.
That's very fun. But that also opens up so many fun session possibilities too, especially as like a DM.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that I love about the system that I mentioned before recording, I love the way the system is written. And I wanted to, like, could you talk on, like, that? Because it's a very... If you've not read the book, I highly recommend doing so. We'll include a link to it in the description. It's completely free to download. It is a very funny RPG book. Like, there's a lot of bits or jokes or memes sprinkled throughout. Like, in the perks and the hindrances and edges section, there's like a trait for gullible, and there's like a little joke about like Sycamore and Lysander, and like your friend who's constantly talking about like making the world more beautiful, pulling out a super weapon, like, I trust you entirely. Like, I was laughing out loud reading this book for the first time in a way that no TTRPG book has ever done before. Like, it's very succinct and it's written in such a funny way. What made you make that decision while you were doing it?
Well, you've been on mic with me, so I think you can tell to some extent that I just talk like this.
Yeah.
That this is just my voice, just in general. But it is tactical. So, one of my favorite RPG books that I have ever read in my life is Genius the Transgression, the original book, 1.1 for World of Darkness. And it is a... You've not heard of it? Okay, so it's a fan game for World of Darkness. It's a splat book, you know, like you have the vampires and the werewolves and the changelings and stuff. And this one is like mad scientists, maybe? Yeah, let's do mad scientists. And that book is so fucking funny. It's very like in the genre. It understands that what it's trying to do is be darkly humorous. It takes cues from the Venture Brothers and countless other like mad scientist type stuff. I think Venture Brothers is probably the biggest inspiration if I had to name one off the top of my head. But like there's a section where they're just like, like, yes, resources. Every mad scientist needs one. So how are you gonna get it? Oh, I know. Why don't you build robots and rob banks with them? Nobody's ever thought of that. So this sense of humor permeates the book, and there's like 0 illustrations in this book because it's a fan game and they couldn't be fucked to get, pictures. But I read it from cover to cover because it was just so damn funny and interesting. And so when I'm going fast forward, I'm laying out my PDF and stuff, I'm like, I want my book to be fun to read. I want people to sit down and think, I want to read this for its own sake. And I don't want it to be a fucking chore to go through the rule book and read every little thing. So, here's the advanced thing, though. Did you notice that the joke placement is tactical?
No.
If you go to any given part of the Pokeymanz PDF, you will notice that there's usually a block of important text that is informational, and they're broken up by jokes. Like, stuff that is informational, that is kind of maybe like it takes you a bit to digest, or it's, a little bit of a hard read, is given a little breather room by we're doing a little funny joke afterwards.
Oh, that's so smart.
So it gives you a dopamine hit for reading the book and internalizing, like for getting to that part of the page, or, sometimes there's multiple jokes per page, but it is designed in such a way on purpose so that it is not only easy to read in that it's dyslexic friendly, which I tested for. Accessibility has been a huge concern of mine. I have many disabled friends. I'm disabled. Oh, sorry, go on.
That's one thing that I love about the system too, is how accessibility friendly it is, and also how focused it is on player safety at the table as well. There's like a lot of comments of like, hey, there's like some content warnings are here. Make sure you're doing like these safety tools in session 0. Make sure if you're including this in the game, especially with the shadow Pokemon section, like, hey, make sure you're asking your players if they're comfortable with like the idea of animal abuse or like Pokemon abuse in that section. Like, it's especially for like modern TTRPGs and where the space is headed and like in the best way possible, it's wonderful that is something that was on your mind when writing it too.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, and we have, like everybody, we all have our demons. Mm-hmm. And it seems pretty common sense to me. And again, coming from the vampire culture, like the vampire LARP culture, there were many hard lessons on like, player consent, how to use the X card, all of that, because, like I would be playing like vampire and we would, walk into like Elysium and be like, hey, looks like we're, yeah, that guy's being publicly executed. All right, right on, And like, so like I come from this like background of playing horror games and such, so it's always on my mind, ever present, as to how far can we take it. I learned from some missteps, in the LARP groups that I was in, and it's not perfect. It still relies on communication at the table, but just having it at the forefront of everyone's mind hopefully does a lot of lifting. And that actually, Shadow Pokemon, is there are no jokes in the Shadow Pokemon section, very much on purpose. It's like the entire book is like haha funny laughter, and then we go dead silent I did that on purpose to try and capture just how serious like Shadow Pokemon are supposed to be, and like how conceptually obviously they are, right? Like, animal abuse is serious business, and Shadow Pokemon are not just like funny haha, Pokemon are, in the premise of the fiction, they are living beings with feelings, just like animals are in the real world and like humans have in the real world. So something that so deeply affects them deserves to be treated with gravitas,
Yeah, and I think you handled it really well, because, I mean, like, the game I'm featuring features Shadow Pokemon. They ran into their first one, and it was like, it's really like, they're like, oh god, like, this thing is hurting. And it was like a moment that actually, like, in a very comedic campaign, the people are like, oh fuck. Like, and I think that it's something that is, especially in the actual, like, writing itself, it is like testament of the tone you are crafting there, especially making sure not to include the jokes, like going serious as a heart attack there. It's a very smart decision of like knowing especially when you can make that joke and when not to.
Yeah, I in a lot of my work, not just my TTRPG work, like in my fanfics and stuff, which I hold in equal regard, even though I know they don't have quite the same reach. I play a lot with comedy and serious tone, like how I feel that all relationships hold both comedy and tragedy in them, and that they're not like separate; they are flip sides of the same coin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying absolutely. Genuine question: what did you write fanfiction for?
Oh, like all sorts of stuff. Like, I got my Mega Man fanfics. I got my Legend of Zelda fanfics, for Breath of the Wild, and currently I'm working on something with my friend, for Danny Phantom.
Nice.
Tia Cat 11. She's so cool. So cool. When she listens to this, she's gonna be so embarrassed. Hold on. Tia Cat 11 is so cool. I really love working with her. Oh, she's in the other room. Even better.
I've already mentioned how amazing my friend Megan is multiple times, so like it's good to like let friends know how cool they are.
Yeah, man.
Hold on, we can get this. We're almost at the hour mark. We're like getting closer to the end. I can give you the charger when I'm done.
Oh, okay. You have the iPad charger.
Yes, there's like a narrative space that like fanfiction exists in, like playing in the rules or the laws of another property, like and I think that's also similar to the like Pokemon RPG of like maintaining the tone of the franchise there or whatever you're going for, which is something that Pokemon does really well with like the thing with this. I'm going backwards here. At the beginning, you're like, hey, here are the key tenets of Pokemon, like the technology, the inherent sense of optimism, or like the conservational or environmental message. Like one thing I think the system does so well there as well is when you and your Pokemon are working together on something, you basically functionally get advantage on it. So it incentivizes trainers to work with their Pokemon for not only the mechanical benefit, but also it kind of feels like that you're doing that, like, oh cool, we're doing this together. Was that something that was intentionally done in the system?
Absolutely. Something that really I'm trying not to like shit talk anybody. I'm trying to like, when I come off as critiquing fandom or whatever, to come at it warmly and lovingly.
Critiquing is an amazing part of art. Of like, you can see what works in something. Like the other Pokemon TTRPGs out there, that is for somebody. Like the deep number crunch. Some table out there loves that, but also that's not for every table. I think that's an easy thing that we can understand going into anything.
Absolutely. Shout out to my spreadsheet freaks. I'm with you.
Shout out to the spreadsheet freaks.
Something that comes up again and again in like Pokemon fan media, like fan games especially, is that they don't quite put enough emphasis on Pokemon as your partners, and they kind of sometimes treat it like Pokemon are just like a tool that you pick up and you equip. I didn't want to do that. I want the Pokemon and trainers should be a team. That is, I wanted to emphasize that from the ground up. Like, you are not complete. Your stat block is literally not complete without your Pokemon, and your Pokemon's stat block is literally not complete without yours.
No, which is really smart of like, and again, it incentivizes working together there, which also going to the theme of the games. It's like mechanically it reinforces the fantasy or the theme, and it's so well done. Like, and also the stat blocks not being complete without the other one is also such a key part that I think really separates this from the system and like makes it that much more like fulfilling towards the fantasy of living in the Pokemon world versus playing the Pokemon game but in a TTRPG format.
Oh yeah.
Our final question before we go into some of our fan questions here. The system, I love, one of my favorite things about the game a part of everything else. I love the edges and hindrances system for getting like the cool abilities for your trainer. So like you want to do these cool things, cool. You like if you want like a feat or a perk or some kind, you have to take some narrative flaws for your character or two, kind of helping them feel more interesting or unique. Where did that idea come about from?
That, my man, is a straight rip from Savage Worlds. I did not innovate there whatsoever.
Wonderful.
But I did kind of like, there is some process to it, so I'll illuminate that at least. Savage Worlds specifically has a lot of like little edges. Like they're kind of like 3.5 D&D, and they're like, you take a feat and you can trip people with a +2 sometimes. So Savage Worlds has this edges balanced by hindrances system, but the edges are not very encompassing, if that makes sense, except for professional edges, which are sort of like the closest thing Savage Worlds has to a class. It gives you like you have to have a certain, like in Savage Worlds, you have to have a certain like prerequisite, and then you essentially get like a loose kind of like almost class template. You get some like unique abilities or reach, within that realm, like of being a thief or whatever. So when I was designing the edges for Pokeymanz, I was like, okay, I want to take from the professional edges. I want people to be able to play the game and have like a trainer class if they pick even just one edge. Probably they'll pick 2, but like I want them to be expansive enough that you can pick it and you can feel like I have like a gimmick. Having a gimmick is very central to Pokemon, by the way. People underestimate that too. So I go to Savage Worlds and I kind of like also think about, some of them are inspired by Chronicles of Darkness, especially the ones like Organizational Ties, which kind of pack some of the social merits in. But I kind of, when designing the edges, I wanted to make sure that you could make any conceivable archetype that you could find in the games, that you could fit in the setting by taking like 2 or 3 edges max, basically. So instead of having like a ass system that, you get more of like one specific type of guy as you go up, you can mix and match your guy central.
Yeah. Do you have a personal favorite edge that you came up with, or like one that you had that you mentally thought of and like, I have to include that?
Happy Camper.
Happy Camper is fun. I love hanging out.
Happy Camper is so fun. I love secret bases.
Yeah.
They were put in. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, you keep going. You keep going.
They were put in a relatively later beta because I noticed people weren't interacting with the secret base system that I had added, and I was very sad because secret bases are fun and good, and people need to do more secret bases, so I made them more powerful so people would use them.
Honestly, that is a very, great game design strategy. If you want people to engage in a system that you really like, add some kind of benefit or make it functionally overpowered. Like, if I remember, like, they functionally made Fireball way too overpowered in 5th edition so that people could use it. Would use it because it was one of their favorite spells that the design team made.
Everyone likes Fireball. You throw a thingamajig and it explodes. What's not to like?
Everyone loves the fantasy of being the U.S. military. That was probably too mean of a comment, but I'm keeping that in unless Jake says no. The ghost that lives in my head, at least in the canon of the Tavern. My personal favorite, I love the supernatural power perk. For the character that I have built for, if I ever get to play in it, I was like, I really want to play someone who has the ghost abilities and put everything into that and all their abilities into ghosts and nothing else.
Yeah! Woo!
Because I think the system also very much, incentivizes you to build someone with a gimmick, and I love that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so smart. My other personal favorite hindrance there is I think it's called like wrong genre or like wrong demographic. Yeah. Where you are like, I love the detail of you are a protagonist in the wrong story. Like it's such I love narrative, and I love the idea of like you would be so good at any other thing, but because of the story you're in, like like Ash Ketchum in a hard-boiled noir, or like Looker in Team Rocket. Like, it's such great detail. And also the mechanic of you functionally have a 0 on one of your skills, and if you roll it, you always fail, is so funny to me.
Now stand aside, child. How hard can Pokemon training be? Oh god. Speaking on the gimmick thing. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off there?
No, I was just gonna do another bit there.
Speaking on the gimmick thing, I'll go on record. You know how you can't take both supernatural power and professional? This is not for game balance considerations, though you might think so at first blush. It is actually because I sat down and thought, in Pokemon, you're not allowed to be psychic and have a normal job.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You may have one gimmick. That's the limit. You can have one gimmick in Pokemon.
I also love Always Broke too. It is a great mechanic, especially because I have a player with the Always Broke at my table, and it is so funny to see it play with also having a character with the Always Prepared feat.
Like Ouroboros.
It's like, oh hey, one of you has no money, and the other of you is just pulling out Pokeballs out of your pocket constantly.
Incredible. My favorite hindrance, because I'm afraid you won't ask, and I need to get it out, is disability.
Yeah. The PC that I built is the PC I built also because I'm a Kane user in real life. I was like, you know what? I love a system that allows me to like basically take that part of myself and put it into my character, and also have it not be something that is completely game breaking in a way of like, because it's like the combat wheelchair thing in D&D of it's wonderful like to have that fantasy, or like being able to like build characters with disabilities in a game. And that was another thing that sold me on the system of like, okay, the creator here is like somebody who I could trust with this game.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, I was flattered to be asked onto the show, but honestly, of everything you've said, that is the nicest to hear. You know what I mean?
Wonderful. Yeah. No, it's like that feeling of like seeing yourself in something. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I can have my player have a cane or some kind of like other impairment, and it's not in like in the scaling of like minor disability or major disability too. It's wonderful. It's such a great detail in the system, and I love it so much.
Yeah, and like I am disabled, of course. I mentioned earlier I'm autistic. It is to the point where I can't hold down a job, unfortunately. But like, and I'm surrounded by all these wonderful, beautiful, amazing disabled people who have various degrees of coping mechanisms, medication, you know, all that stuff. And I wanted something that would, like, so many RPGs, they have like, just like, you're blind, you take, you fail all checks to do with visual stuff, and it's like, it's having piecemeal representation like that. There's certainly some advantages to it, but it go on, sorry.
Feels weirdly ableist when they do it like that. Of like the disability and like even in this, it's in the hindrance section, but also in that way of like there's a thing of like, oh, it is something that is part of your character and can like, but it can also like expel into something else, something greater of like, you, because of this you can be stronger. And it's a very wonderful narrative aspect there as someone who with again chronic pain cane user.
Yeah, and the difference between minor disability and major disability, for those of you who haven't read the book or are listening, is not like how bad the disability is necessarily, though it is related to that. It is whether or not you have a support that allows you to basically, you know, function, you know? So a minor disability might be like my glasses, I take them off, oh shit, it's blurry, why'd I actually do that? Nobody can see that, why'd I do that? I got into the juice, man. So like, you like if you have these disability aids, like they are your life, right? Like if I completely cease to function if my glasses are taken away, or if I also have to use a cane right now, like I can't walk long distances, and like it's to get across like the fear of losing this thing you depend on to function and to be independent is something that I hope I can get across in the difference between those two severities of hindrances too.
It's so wonderful. It is a genuinely inspirational part of the system there, and something that like truly sold me on it. It's just truly great there. Like it's like there's no jokes with that. It's great. I love that. Like it's something that I haven't seen in many RPGs there that truly kind of expands it and makes it feel a lot more accepting in a way that the hobby is heading.
Well, it kind of also has to do with just like the way disability is viewed in general, right? Because we always teeter at all times between disability is the worst TM and disability is a superpower. Those two extremes of like, positivity porn and like just like eugenics, essentially.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
always teetering between these two opinions, and it's like I do not hate having a disability in a lot of ways because it's me. The self-love aspect, that's definitely there. But it is a hindrance to me doing what I want to do. So that's why I also really like the way hindrances is phrased too. It's not like a flaw. It's not something that makes you lesser as you're worth lesser. But it is something that hinders you and your goals as a person.
Hindrance is the perfect word, yeah, because it's something that you can also live with and like live around too. It's great. It's truly great. Yeah. Sorry. Segue. We have since we're getting closer to the end here, we have two fan questions that I wanted to bring up. One comes from Abhaile on Discord. This is one of the players in my campaign, actually. How can I build my character to fight more people one-on-one? This is someone who, in our first session, threw a lock at the team, our Team Rocket stand-in, and started physically fist-fighting them, and has done that in every recurring session from now.
Oh, like I had a totally different answer written down. I didn't think you mean with your fists. Okay, buddy, let's get into it. So you want to take martial artist?
Okay.
You want to take move tutor?
Okay.
And you want to look for moves that fit your fighting style, and invest in fitness or your corresponding supernatural power. That's basically the route to become like your own battler. There is no way to mitigate the wound penalty that as written. I'm sure, whatever, you guys have a campaign, you can homebrew something if you really want. But the way that it is currently written, the strongest you can get is by being a martial artist, pouring into move tutor, and kind of like thinking about your strategy and all that. Something else is that just because you're a martial artist doesn't mean your Pokemon's moves can't be incorporated into what you're doing. Hypothetically speaking, you could have a Zubat that has Air Slash, and you could have like, like Razor Leaf or something as a martial artist, and you could, roll your Razor Leaf die and their Air Slash die and do a combination attack. Like, there's nothing saying that your Pokemon can't participate in your, but you're just the one leading the attack, right?
Yeah. They also have their character, their like mental, like the lore behind that is they're from the Ore region. A region that does not have Pokemon, and so they're used to settling combat hand by hand. And we also have another trainer who in that campaign who has the martial artist edge, and their partner Pokemon is a Honedge that lets them wield it like a sword.
Yeah, woo!
Which is Felix, previous guest of the show. We love you. It's a wonderful character that he has built that I like. The party is so funny. in the best way possible. Like, yeah, this feels like a realistic of all the big personalities in the Pokemon world. If you shoved a bunch of the craziest people together, this is the team, and it's wonderful. And then you have one person who's actually playing like a genuine Pokemon trainer, like a 16-year-old going on their journey with a whole cast of like side characters there.
Yes, sickos.
Yeah, it's perfect. It is the perfect party. It's also a West Marches style too.
Is it what style?
It's a West Marches style game too. So you have like out.
We have in the campaign I am in, I finally completed my long-time goal of making an entire system so I can sucker somebody into DMing it for me.
Good.
We have our party of like weirdos, and somebody brought an actual 10-year-old girl who has the trait of being the like overpowered protagonist who has memorized all the type combinations and strategies. We basically met at a bus stop, and everyone was like, well, I guess we're babysitting this 10-year-old girl now as she goes on her Pokemon adventure.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. Our second question came in a little bit later, so I wasn't able to add that in. From the ghost that lives in my head, Jake, what do you think Pokemon taste like?
What do you mean by this?
Like if you had to eat a Pokemon, I'm guessing like the question is, if you had to eat a Pokemon, which one would you have to eat?
Okay, well we're not presupposing that you have to eat a Pokemon and know what they taste like. First off, you could just like lick them.
That is fair.
When it comes to harm-free vegan Pokemon tasting, I think that it would really depend on the species. Actually, come to think of it, no matter what, it would depend on the species.
Yeah. Would a Tropius berry count? Like one of the bananas on his chin, or like, because I know canonically, doesn't Snover have berries that grow back?
Snover has berries. Arboliva actually grows olives, and its pre-evolution just gives olive oil straight up. Dolive, I think it is.
I think it's Dolive. Yeah, because it's Smoliv, Dolive, Arboliva.
Veluza sheds parts of its like meat that you can then eat if you want. Slowpoke tails grow back, so there are many options that are not vegan or vegetarian, but like slightly more ethical. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. What? Yeah, it would be vegan because eggs aren't vegan, but it's still, I guess it's not like you're killing the Pokemon to eat it. Of those options, which one would you have?
Well, that's not what you asked, buddy. You asked what they would taste like. That's a totally different question. They would taste like nothing because I would never eat a Pokemon straight up. But if you were just asking me like licking one or getting one of the various ethical byproducts
of the ethical byproducts of the Pokemon, of those options.
Why the fuck? What does it taste like that Slowpoke tail is worth so goddamn much? I need to know.
Is it like in universe like Wagyu beef? Like
it's gotta be like fatty, right? Like they're pretty pudgy, and they got
like Team Rocket was they were willing to do crimes to get the Slowpoke tails. Like, what does it taste like?
What the fuck does it taste like? And obviously there's some ethical way to harvest it, probably, because you can get it in Galar, but like, so I need to know, what the fuck, what is it, Wagyu beef? Tell me, Game Freak!
I'm not gonna lie, the ghost thought it was like rhino horn or something like that.
There's actually a canon answer to this. I looked it up. It is pleasant, sweet, and almost sugary.
What? Like it's like a sweet meat?
I don't like that.
Like in canon, it's very tender and soft. And apparently Galarian Slowpoke tails are spicy.
Wouldn't they be poison? I guess being poisoned doesn't mean you are poisoned to eat.
Like, I guess maybe, or like maybe maybe it's like a, because like if I remember right, capsaicin is technically a poison if I remember right. So maybe it's just like spicy or has a kind of tang to it. I guess it's just a tender and soft, really quote unquote pleasant, sweet, and almost sugary taste, like a naturally sweet sap. Like,
Right.
what the fuck does this taste like?
I'm gonna assume that it tastes like teriyaki beef of very good quality, and just say that I would eat slowpoke tail.
Yeah, I'd eat a slowpoke tail. I mean, I love beef bulgogi, so like probably something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, well, what a way to end the actual interview segment. Our last two questions here. One of these I've stolen from the podcast Pop Culture Happy Hour from what is making you happy this week? If you don't have an answer to this, I can go first.
Oh, I do have an answer to this. My fiance recently arrived for an extended visit, and I'm really happy to be with him.
Oh, wonderful. That is absolutely amazing. That's genuinely amazing. Also, congratulations as well on being.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I got married earlier this year myself. Well, this is
nice.
This comes out in February. We are recording this in December. There was like that 2-week off break from the podcast because I was actively getting married and on the honeymoon. Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks, and congratulations to you too, man.
Thank you. I am currently working on. We are, as of the time of recording this, I'm currently getting further and further into the Fakemon region that I'm working on, where we have now gotten to past all of like the general ones. Where, as of time of publishing, like I've published all of the Route 1, like the Route 1 bugs, the bird, the Pika clone, all different stuff like that. And now I get to go to like the fun, weird ones.
Yes.
Get the little tortoise and the hare like duo will be releasing soon. I'm very excited for that.
I liked the deer one. Well, you know I liked the deer one. I statted that shit up.
No, the deer one. I can look into this episode before. I made a Fakemon that is it's supposed to be an analog horror inspired Pokemon because I was like, man, Pokemon analog horror would be really fun. Like, what would that even look like? And so I just created one. And like, it's inspired by like Appalachian folklore of like not deer or like the things that go bump in the night or like the things that like cry out in the middle of the woods that you don't know what it is. I'm saying the names of some of those creatures because I know in Native American folklore you're not supposed to. But it's like this weird upside down deer monster that looks like a normal deer, but then it's also inspired by the hide behind. So its body it's just like literally standing, bending over backwards. It's like this. Yeah. It is a terrifying looking creature, and it was so fun to design. The omni-jointed abilities or the like static is going into like those are its actual abilities that I've given it now.
Well, awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is now closing time at the tavern here. Before we go, do you have anything you would like to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I've put a lot of, obviously, you brought me on the show because you wanted my opinion and my perspective, but I just want to say, game development is not a solitary process, you know? Pokeymanz is what it is because, like, fucking more than 100 people, you know, in their own way, in one way or another, you know, helped me with it. It's definitely something that, you know, I went public pretty early with the PDF, and there was community around it. And various people, especially like Isa and Emmy and everybody, like really did a lot of work. And thank you, Ruben, as well. Just to, sorry, I'm like trying to think of the most major contributors off the top of my head, and I really should have come up with a list beforehand. But like, I just want to emphasize that yes, even though it is my like vision and a lot of it comes from me, it's not fair for me to like take all the credit, if that makes sense. I just want everybody to know that they also made it happen.
It's a like great man theory of history of like because like there are so many people behind the scenes pushing one person's dream to the front, and so it is amazing to have those people to help support you in any endeavor. Where can we find your other work or any socials you want to plug there?
Oh god, like, you know, same username on AO3 and Reddit. I don't really like I'm working on some tabletop games, like with my fiance and such, but nothing that's like publicly published right now. I don't really have anything to push. I have nothing to plug. I don't have a Ko-fi. Give to an environmental organization this holiday season, or a food bank or something, if you want to like give anything attention, because I just want to make the world a better place than where I left it.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to include some links to food banks or environmental groups down below as well. Yes, thank you so much for coming on. This was a wonderful interview.
Oh, thanks for having me, and I had a lot of fun, man.
Thank you so much. Well, that is closing time at the Tavern. Thank you all so much for tuning into this another episode of Tavernside Chats. We will see you next time here in the Tavern. Keep telling stories, everyone. And that's a wrap.